Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we will study the nerve impulse conduction, degeneration and regeneration of nerve fibers. And I am Talat Nas from Department of Physiology. Learning objectives: define functional anatomy of the nerve fibers, conduction of nerve impulse, causes of nerve injury, classification and degrees of nerve injury, pathological changes of Valerian and retrograde regeneration in the nerve fibers, and explain the changes in the nerve fiber after injury and factors affecting the regeneration process and some complication of the nerve injury. In this picture you can see a nerve fiber which consists of dendrites, cell body, axonal terminals, and this is the myelinated nerve fiber because the myelin sheath is present on the axons. You can see this is the myelinated nerve fibers because myelin sheath is present, and myelin sheath is produced by the Schwann cells and envelop the axons except at the ends and the nodes of nerve. You can see the axonal terminals have no myelin sheath, and the nodes, there is a node, or the distance between these myelin sheaths is known as nodes of Ranvier. So the impulse is conducted faster in the myelin sheath than unmyelinated nerve fibers, and they possess the capacity of self-regeneration after traumatic injury. Not all the neurons have the capacity to self-regenerate, but all the peripheral nerve fibers have the capability to do so. So the first topic that we are going to cover today is the propagation of action potential. You have already studied about the resting membrane potential and action potential, their generation, and what are the factors affecting the action potential. So you know, a single action potential involve only a small portion of the total excitable cell membrane. What does it mean? It means that if the axon is very long in the length, only a small portion, if you stimulate it, an action potential is generated. For example, in this picture you see, if there's only a small portion has action potential is generated. Now this action potential, you can see in the picture B, now this action potential, this positivity which depolarize the nerve fiber will travel along the whole length of the nerve fiber, and this movement is known as propagation of action potential. And the direction of action potential, because the action potential, for example, you consider that the action potential is produced at the center of the nerve cell, and we have provided the stimulus at this point. Now what will happen? This positivity not only move in the forward direction but also in the backward direction, so it will completely depolarize the nerve fiber until the entire length of the nerve fiber will be depolarized. So direction will be in the all directions. Conduction of action potentials is basically divided into two types: contiguous conduction and saltatory conduction. Contiguous conduction is basically the conduction which take place in unmyelinated nerve fibers, and it is continuous. Action potential is spread along the every portion of the membrane. It means it has to open all the sodium channels to travel the action potentials. However, in the saltatory conduction is rapid conduction because the myelin sheath is present and it has insulation. Impulse jumps over the sections of the fiber that covered with the insulating myelin. Means insulation is provided by the myelin, and we do not need to open all the sodium channels in the case of saltatory conduction. In this picture we see that stimulus is provided at one point, and there is a leakage of the high quantity of the sodium ions into the nerve cell. So the sodium channel locally open in response to the stimulus and generating an action potential, because when the sodium is entered into the cell, it will create positivity, and if this positivity is reached up to the threshold level, it will cause action potential. And you know what is action potential? These positivity will move in the forward direction and open all the other sodium channels, so that more and more positivity will be created inside the cell, and the signal will be moving forward in the direction of the impulse. So you can see initially we need to stimulate a particular small portion to create action potential, and then it will passively move in the forward direction. In this picture you can see, in the previous picture you see we stimulate only this part, okay, and then it is moving in the forward direction. And in this picture you see we have stimulated this part, this see the movement of my mouse, this part, and in this picture you see the sodium is or the positivity is moving in this direction. So the propagation of the action potential already been done. So in this way, the after the action potential is generated, positivity is created, and the increased permeability for the sodium causes the depolarization in the nerve cell, and this positivity will further open the other channels, and in this way more and more channels will be open and the impulse will be transferred to the other part. One more important factor that need to be explained at this point is the refractory period. Basically, once the action potential is generated at this point, it will move passively to the forward direction. But what happened at the previous site means, in the forward direction the sodium channels will open, but what happened to the backward direction? The backward direction become repolarized after some time. Or you can say initially there is a period of refractoriness, means it will be refractory to the another stimulus. It will not respond to the another stimulus until the relative refractory period will reach, where there are chances that if we provide a very strong stimulus, then the sodium channels will open and the another action potential will be produced. But just after the action potential or the movement of this positivity in the forward direction, this part become absolutely refractory to the another stimulus, and another strong stimulus will not cause any change, any positivity in this part, and this part will start to maintain again the resting membrane potential with the help of sodium potassium pump. So this part remain refractory and the forward part become depolarized more and more, so that the signals will be passed in the forward direction. The transmission of the depolarization. What is this going on? Of course, this positivity is moving in the forward direction, and this positivity is creating depolarization. Initially, the nerve cell was polarized, now the nerve become depolarized. So, the transmission of the depolarization process along the nerve or the muscle fiber is called the impulse. Okay, an action potential in the axon of the neuron is called the nerve impulse and is the way of neuron communication. There are basically two methods to increase the speed of propagation or conduction through the nerve cell. One is the diameter and another one is the myelin sheath. If the nerve fiber has a large diameter, the conduction velocity will be more because the resistance to the flow of current or the ions will be low, and the conduction speed will be increased. And similarly, because of the presence of myelin sheath, there is the jumping of the nerve potentials, and we do not need to open all the sodium channels, and there is the opening of the sodium channels only at particular points, so the conduction velocity will be increased. And this picture show you that the action potential only jump at these point because of the huge quantity of sodium channels over there. So the when the positivity is moving towards in this type of nerve fiber, it will open the sodium channels and conduction will continue. And this type of conduction, as I already tell you that what is saltatory conduction, where the whole neuron do not need to open all the sodium channels, but there are nodes of Ranvier. There is a particular place where the huge quantity of sodium channels are present. So when this positivity is coming to this point and it will reach to the threshold level, that is for example from -70 to -60, which is positive for the nerve cell. So this positivity cause the opening of these sodium channels, and this is called the threshold potential, and this will continue but only at the nodes of Ranvier. So this is also known as jumping of the action potential or the saltatory conduction. And the speed of saltatory conduction is very high, that is 50 times more faster than unmyelinated nerve fibers. You know this. You may be asked what is the reason for the saltatory conduction, or what is the factor responsible for the saltatory conduction. The main factor is the myelin, presence of the myelin sheath. As no ions can flow through the myelin sheath, they can flow with ease through nodes of Ranvier. Therefore, the action potential or flow of the electrical current occur from the node to the node in jumping manner known as saltatory conduction. Now, there are two important things to remember why the saltatory conduction is important. First of all, it will increase the conduction velocity through the myelinated nerve fibers. Sometimes we need to do some work very fast. So, the peripheral nerve fibers are myelinated. Because of this myelination, the work will be fast, conduction velocity will be increased. The other important factor is the conservation of energy for the axon. Now you think that if there is unmyelinated nerve fiber, in the case of unmyelinated nerve fiber, all the sodium channels has to be open to travel the conduction to the length of the nerve fiber. However, in the myelinated nerve fibers, only the sodium channels that are present at the nodes of Ranvier will be open and increase the permeability of the sodium ions to enter and create the positivity, and the depolarization wave will move forward. So in this way, it do not need lots of energy to reback a huge amount of the sodium outside by the help of the sodium potassium pump. And the sodium potassium pump need energy, so somehow it will conserve a lot of energy. In this picture, you can see there are two fibers in figure 1, unmyelinated fiber and myelinated nerve fibers. They both are stimulated at the same point. And in the second picture, you see the unmyelinated fibers have conduct only this distance, only small distance. However, in the myelinated nerve fibers, the conduction is too much, means it is far away from the start of stimulation. So you can see the unmyelinated nerve fiber conduction velocity is 0.5 to 10 meter per second. However, in the myelinated axon, you can see the conduction is up to 150 meter per second. So the conduction velocity is too high in the myelinated nerve fibers. Now this figure is very important for you to memorize, basically because of the connective tissues that are causing the covering of nerve cells, or as well as the complete bundle of the nerve fiber. This purple part representing you the peripheral nerve, and this is the combination of the fascicles. It contain lot of fascicle bundles, and neurons are not just put into the nerve fiber, they are properly arranged into the fascicles. So the first part, neuron, which contain a lot of neurons into the bundles, this part is basically covered with the help of epineurium. That because it is the outside, so that is why it is known as epineurium membrane. And then we have the fascicular bundle, and fascicles are covered with another membrane, connective tissue membrane, which is known as perineurium. And then if we put out one neuron out of this fascicular bundle, we see that it is a single neuron is also covered with endoneurium. So the innermost is the endoneurium, and then the perineurium on the fascicle, and then the nerve is covered with the epineurium. So these three layers are very important that we are discussing in our coming sessions. Okay, so the topic is degeneration and regeneration of nerve fibers. Whenever there is a nerve which is get injured, various changes can occur in the nerve fibers and the nerve cell bodies. Nerve fibers, when I say the nerve fibers, is basically we are talking about the axonal fibers and axonal part of the nerve cell and the cell body. So these changes or injury, these changes which occur after the injury are collectively known as degenerative changes. What is the cause of these? This can be transient compression, obstructive blood flow, ischemia, hypoxia to the particular part of the nerve, and the local injection of the toxic substance, crushing of the nerve fiber, And transaction means if you cut the nerve because of fracture or because of any reason, there will be a cut and the nerve will be divided into two parts. So injury can be of any type because of these particular reasons are most important that are causing the nerve injury. So basically the classification, now why I am discussing the nerve injury instead of directly starting the main topic degeneration and regeneration, because without understanding the types of injury you will not understand that how the degeneration will occur in different types of injuries. Okay, so that's why we are discussing about the injury, causes of injury and types of injury. So the classification or the degree of nerve injury is basically based on two types. One, the scientist Seddon, who classify the nerve injury into three main types: neuropraxia, axonotmesis and neurotmesis. So basically there are three types according to the Seddon classification. However, the Sunderland classify the degree of injury into basically 3 degrees: first, second, third, fourth and fifth. In this picture you can see this is a normal nerve fiber. Okay, and this is a combination. Basically Seddon and Sunder is not so different, but there is in the Sunder they further classify on the basis of the severity of the injury. So in the first part you can say grade 1 is also the neuropraxia. We will discuss step by step all these, but the second grade 2 is anotmesis as in the Seddon, and grade 2 according to the Sunderland. And now from the grade 3, 4 and 5, this is a neurotmesis. Neurotmesis is basically you can see based on the Seddon, but the grade 3, 4 and 5 is according to the Sunderland. So basically injuries are three types: neuropraxia, axonotmesis and neurometasis. But neurometasis have different categories of the severity. That is why it is further divided into three more degrees according to Sunderland. In the first degree, which is degree of injury, which is known as the neuropraxia, this is very common because this is caused by applying the pressure of the nerve, leading to the occlusion of the blood flow and hypoxia. And this is very mild type of you can say injury. In this case the endoneurium is the layer which is covering the nerve cell. So the endoneurium remain intact, axon remain intact, demyelination is very mild, and mild conduction block will occur, and this is for only few hours or few weeks will continue maximum, and the recovery is complete and spontaneous, means it will recover very quickly. The second degree of injury to the nerve fibers is known as axonotmesis, and this is due to the prolonged severe pressure and causes Wallerian degeneration. I will discuss Wallerian degeneration in detail in our upcoming portion of the lecture. So you remember that due to the prolonged severe pressure or the compression of the nerve causes the second degree of injury. In this case endoneurium is intact. Okay, axon is not intact, means compression is so much the axon is not intact, it will damage the axonal part. And demyelination is moderate. Myelin is demyelinated, that is damage to the myelin occur, but at the moderate level. And then we have the moderate conduction block. So the recovery is about 18 months, but yes, it is complete recovery and nearly spontaneous. Now third degree is neurotmesis. This is quite severe injury. Endoneurium is interrupted, but epineurium and perineurium remain intact. However, in the first degree and second degree, you can see endoneurium is intact in the first degree, second degree endoneurium is intact. However, in the third degree endoneurium is interrupted and epineurium and perineurium remain intact. Axon is also interrupted, and there is severe demyelination occur and severe conduction block will occur, and the recovery is slow, and also incomplete. Means once the severe injury will occur, you cannot say that that there will be complete recovery occur. Maybe we will need some you can say some surgery or like that procedures. Fourth degree is neurotmesis. More severe injury occur, epineurium, perineurium, endoneurium all become interrupted. This is very severe case, and nerve fibers become disorganized. Means the nerve fibers are organized into fascicles covered with the epineurium, perineurium, and endoneurium. But if all the membranes are damaged or interrupted, then the nerve fibers become disorganized. Axon is not intact. Severe demyelination occur. Severe conduction block occur, and recovery will be poor and incomplete. Another degree is the fifth degree. Of course, this will be more severe as compared to all the other categories of the nerve injury. Here, the complete transection of the nerve trunk with the loss of continuity. Means if there is a cut, the nerve will be divided into two parts. Okay, and there is a complete transaction. Two parts will be occur. Epineurium, perineurium, endoneurium become interrupted. Of course, if there is a cut, epineurium, perineurium, and endoneurium all will be divided into two parts. So the nerve fiber become disorganized. Axon is not intact. Severe demyelination occur. Severe conduction block occur. And in this case, regeneration process is not useful. Means if you say that regeneration will occur, this is not possible. You need proper surgery for the arrangement of the cut parts of the nerve fibers, and once these cut parts are aligned with the help of surgery, they are tie up, and there is a proper procedure, only then there is a chances that this will recover. Now further, up till now we have studied different types of nerve injuries. Now we will start the topic of degeneration. Means after the injury, what happened in the nerve cells, what happened that caused the pathological problems, pathological changes. So the pathological changes that occur after the injury are known as degeneration. Means the injury has occurred to the nerve cell, and then after the injury there are some changes taking place inside the nerve fiber, and these changes are known as degeneration. So if the peripheral nerve fiber get damaged, okay, peripheral nerve fibers get damaged, degenerative alterations seen in the cell body, and that is the soma of the neuron and the nerve fibers of the same or adjoining neuron. Nerve fibers means axonal part of the nerve cell. So the cell body or cell body, and of course when the cell body is damaged, again the dendrites will also be damaged. So the cell body part is mainly focused, and the nerve fibers of the same fiber or adjoining fibers. If the nerve fibers of the one cell is damaged, of course they will not send signal to the other part, or maybe they will transfer the pathological you can say chemicals or other things that can damage the other neuron. So the degenerative changes are divided into three types. Remember, degenerative changes, that the pathological changes that are taking place inside the cell of the nerve cell after the injury are divided into three types: Wallerian degeneration, retrograde regeneration, and transneuronal regeneration. We will study step by step. The first one is Wallerian degeneration, which is also known as orthograde regeneration. In this picture, it is very clear to you that the pathological changes occurs towards the distal part of the injury. In this picture, you say, see that there is a cut, and the two parts of the axon become separated, but the damage or the pathological changes is observed in the lower part and or the distal part. That is why it is known as orthograde degeneration, and starts after the 24 hours of the injury. For example, the cut is there, and after 24 hours, within the 24 hours, sorry, these pathological changes will start. What are these pathological changes that occur in the Wallerian degeneration? I will discuss with you. First of all, the slender, this is the axis cylinder, okay, this is the axonal part. This will become breakdown, of course. Now we have to focus on the lower part, see the mouse. Okay, this is the part, this is the lower part. So the axonal tail ender, it will break down into small pieces, and the myelin present over there. Okay, initially of course this fiber is like this, normal fiber, but after the injury, these pathological changes causes the breakdown of this cylinder like structure, axonal structure, as well as myelin sheath slowly disintegrated into small fat-like droplets, and this may start from the 8th to 35th day of injury. This is first change that occur in the injured nerve cell. Neurolemal sheath remain intact. However, the sheath over there remain intact, but Schwann cell multiply rapidly. Schwann cell are the cell that are making this myelin sheath. So the macrophages then remove both the debris and the droplets. Means the macrophages that remove the debris and the fat droplets. So the neurolemma sheath become empty and later on filled with the cytoplasm of Schwann cells. The whole process of Wallerian degeneration will take almost 2 months. Now you see that part is degenerated, and it will create new fibers. Schwann cells give directions for the formation of the axonal terminals, and again the new cell will be formed. Sometimes its length will be normal, and sometimes it will not reach to the normal length. Another type of degeneration is retrograde regeneration. In this picture you can see if the damage occur to this part, proximal cut of the end. This is the cut, this is a cut. If the damage occur to this part where I am moving the mouse, this is the distal part, this is known as Wallerian degeneration. And if the damage or pathological changes occur in the forefront part, this is known as retrograde degeneration, and this occur in the proximal cut end of the axon, where basically the cell body is more affected. So the pathological changes occur in the nerve cell body and towards the proximal part before the site of the injury. So this is the proximal part and the cell body, they become damaged in the retrograde regeneration. Changes in the nerve cell, first of all we will see nasal granules and Golgi apparatus in the cell body get disintegrated into small fragments. Cell body swell up, neurofibrils disappeared, and nucleus displaced towards the periphery or even removed from the cell body. This may lead to the death of the nerve cell. In the case of regeneration of the nerve cell is not possible. Changes in the axon proximal to the cut and proximal means the part which is proximal to the cut. What happened to that in the axon? The change occur only up to the first node of Ranvier. Means if you see the picture, up to this part, up to this is the first node of Ranvier, the changes will from here to here, this will take place from the site of injury. Degenerative changes that are similar to the Wallerian degeneration, there is no difference, and the myelin will be converted to the fat droplets, which is then engulfed by the macrophages, and similarly the axonal part will also be there. Now come to the transneuronal regeneration. Transneuronal degeneration is basically due to these Wallerian degeneration and due to the retrograde regeneration. Basically in the central nervous system, the neuron receiving the input from degenerated axons undergoes anterograde transneuronal degeneration, and the neuron from which the input to the chromatolytic neuron arise degenerates. So basically, first of all, the degeneration, it may be Wallerian or the retrograde. This will lead to the anterograde transneuronal degeneration or retrograde transneuronal degeneration. Of course, depends upon the type of. If this is the Wallerian, it will cause anterograde transneuronal degeneration, and if it is towards the cell body and before the nerve cell, because the nerve cells are connected to each other, and injury is occur only in this nerve cell. So if this is towards the retrograde, it will cause the retrograde transneuronal degeneration to the other nerve cells. So this is how occur. This is a summary, small summary of the what if the injury is first degree and second degree. This is reversible and it will recover completely. However, if the degree is third or fourth degree or the fifth degree, so you can see it is non-reversible as compared to the sometimes it may be recovered with the surgery, but in the fifth degree it is not. Severe loss of continuity will occur and disruptions will occur. Now we have to see what are the factors causing. Up till now we have studied about the degeneration, basically types of degeneration and what happened during the degeneration. Now we will have a look about the regeneration, means recovery. So the factors which are very important for regeneration, and we say that recovery will occur in some neurons and not in the other neurons. This is because of the presence of the neurolemma. If the neurolemma is present, then only the regeneration will occur. Means that nerve membrane is present, inside is damaged, Schwann cell will generate again, but if the neurolemma is not intact, then there will be no recovery. Axons of the central nervous system never regenerate as they do not have the neurolemma. Okay, and then presence of nucleus. It is important that in the condition where nucleus extruded out, the process of regeneration does not occur. So in the case of retrograde degeneration, sometimes the nucleus will move out of the cell body, and other parts are also moved from because the cell body becomes swollen and the other parts will move out of the cell body, so there will be loss of the nucleus as well. So in the retrograde cell body have no nucleus. Sometimes it has no nucleus, it is injury is too much, so the nucleus is very important. If the nucleus is not present, regeneration will not take place. Now the gap between the injured fiber. Remember, if there is a cut in the nerve fiber and the gap between the nerve fibers is 3 millimeter, more than 3 millimeter, then the chances of regeneration are increased considerably. Means, sorry, if the gap is less than 3 millimeter, the chances of recovery are more, and if the gap between the cut is more than this, the chances are less. So the rapid regeneration process occur if the cut end remains in the, yes, another important factor here to be remembered, that if the nerve is cut down, okay, and the two parts are aligned in the same line, the chances are that they will regenerate earlier. If the cut part is moved upward or downward, then there are chances that in recovery will not occur, or we need to take the support of the surgery. And another thing, that if types of injury, the process of regeneration occur rapidly in the crush injury as compared to sharp cut injury, because in the crush injury, for example, there is accident and there is some damage to the inside of the axonal parts, and this will be recovered with the help of Schwann cells and other growth factors and other will help in the recovery. But if there is a sharp cut, the two parts will be separated. Means half part the cell body is separated from the axonal, then there will be chances of that the recovery will not take place. Regenerative changes. Now come to the what are basically the changes that occur during regenerative process. So basically it occurs in 5 stages. Number 1, stage of fiber formation. So first of all, there is axis cylinder that was damaged, remember, in the degeneration. So the axis cylinder from the proximal cut of the axon elongate and give out the fibrils up to 100 in numbers in all the direction. And the fibrils grow into the connective tissue at the site of injury and attempt to reach to the distal end of the axon. What happened? Axis cylinder, this central part, okay, this is cylinder proximal cut end of the axon elongate and give out the fibrils up to 100 numbers in all directions. Fibrils grow into connective tissues at the site of injury and attempt to reach in the distal end of the axon. And you remember the connective tissues are intact. In this case, connective tissues are intact, only then the regeneration will occur. So the covering is intact and only the growth will occur inside the nerve fiber. Second stage of entry of fibril into the endoneurial tube. Strands of the Schwann cells guide the growth fibrils that are growing. The axonal axis is growing, so this will is under the guidance of the Schwann cells. It will help the fibrils to enter into the endoneurial tube, the tube that is basically not the tube. This is the membranes covering inside the endoneurial tube and grow rapidly at the faster rate. So the fibrils which are unable to enter the endoneurial tube will degenerate and other will regenerate. What are and the other step is the active growth. The growing axonal fiber, axon is growing now. It has some fibers which are growing and they become enlarged and establish the contact with appropriate end organs. The process of myelination not yet begun. Fiber is unmyelinated in the initial stage. Okay, and at this stage myelin is not growing, but the axon is growing inside the neurolemma. Stage of myelination. And after once the axon fibers are enlarged, they become established, they become mature, there is a start of the process of myelination. The myelin is lost, now we need to produce myelin again. So the process of myelination begins slowly and completes in 1 year. The progressive increase in the diameter occur. Regenerated fibers attain 80% of its original diameter and then 1 year. And this third stage is the changes in the cell body. Nasal granules follow by Golgi apparatus. Okay, loses the excess cytoplasm to regain its size because there is swelling in the cell body. So there is loss of cytoplasm so that it will come to the normal size, and nucleus occupies the central position which come to the periphery in the case of retrograde. Because the cell body is damaged, so retrograde regeneration was there. So the retrograde regeneration cell body is affected, so the nasal granules will and the Golgi apparatus will appear again, loses the cytoplasm, fluid will lose, it will come to the normal size, and the nucleus which was moved towards the periphery now come back to the central position. This picture showed you different types of peripheral regeneration. First of all, this was the Wallerian gene. After the Wallerian degeneration, this is the Wallerian degeneration. This was the recovery, and this you can see the Schwann cells are recovering this part, and you see this is the complete regeneration. But sometimes what happened? Sometimes there is a problem which is known as neuroma formation. Neuroma is like sponge-like, or lots of nerve fibers are formed, and they are not connected with the rest of the cell because there is a neurolemma and there is production of the nerve cells again. So this is how the degeneration and regeneration will occur. Complications following the injury. Injury के बाद what complications can be there? The complete atrophy of the nerve fiber occur, means the shape will be changed. Atrophy will occur. Functional complications in the form of misinterpretation of sensation, means you will not interpret the proper sensation due to the abnormal connection during the process of regeneration, means there may be some misinterpretation because of the cells or the nerve cells that are regenerated are not up to the normal level. So there is as I tell you that neuroma, this type of nerve cells, axonal terminals will be generated. So neuroma formation, word like mass, which is very painful, and it is due to the abnormal regeneration process where the gap between the cut, you can see the gap is not aligned. Regeneration need alignment cut, and nerve fiber is too large, thus leading to the formation of the fibers turn around for the search of the endoneurial tube and form the mass. Common example is phantom limb. And this is the overall picture that's showing a nerve cell, and this is showing that there is damage to the fibers occur, and new myelination is formed. And if there is neuroma, this will cause the painful. This is the abnormality of the injury. This is the atrophic nerve and muscle fiber. So there are several injuries that some side effects even after the regeneration. It is not saying that it will be come to the normal level. So it is very painful. And this is about how the degeneration and regeneration occurs in the nerve fibers. I hope you understand the concept of degeneration and regeneration and types of degeneration. So study this again, and if you don't understand, repeat the video and listen it carefully. I hope you will get the idea about the basic concept behind the propagation of nerve impulse, degeneration and regeneration. Thank you so much.